Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Serial Optimist podcast. I am your host Stephanie and I am so excited for you to be here again. I am so grateful for the amount of people that tuned in to our first episode and the amazing feedback that we got, and please feel free if you want to suggest anything for us to talk about or add in or guests that you would love to see. By all means, feel free to reach out to me. This week is very special. It's coming out actually today. It will be my 33rd birthday. So Larry Bird and 33. And I remember being in my 20s thinking that 30s was like 1,000 years old. And now I'm in my 30s and I'm like, it's so young still. You can do so much still. So it's been quite the ride. And this episode is really the last solo one for a little while. The rest will be with guests. But I really want to take this time to share my kind of history with Happy Brands and our evolution and where we are now. And also take this time to reflect on the last year of my 32nd year on Earth, going into my 33rd. And because so much has changed and I feel like it's due, and I just want to share with you guys everything that's going on. So without further ado, I had described in one of our last episodes about my career evolution and journey. And so we're going to kind of start from the end of that. So I was laid off from a fintech company in 2022. And that's when I kind of started really exploring more on the social media side. I started working at an agency. I worked a million jobs that summer and then realized like I love social media and I love marketing, and I really started to evolve into that. So I decided to just go out on my own and start my own company in 2023, April 2023. And so our first year, 2023, April to January 2024, was a giant shitstorm and super crazy. And that's the only way I can describe it, because it was amazing. It was really hard. I worked 80 to 100 hours a week. It was honestly it was a big change, because I had always been at corporate. I had always had that 9-to-5 job, that salary plus benefits and 401k. And this was the first time that I really went out on my own to figure everything out, where I got my own health insurance, which, by the way, if you're a contractor or wannabe contractor, it's not as hard as you think it is. And it's actually not as expensive as I thought it was going to be. It's more money than working at a company, but it's not as expensive as I thought it would be. So my first few months starting my business, I signed up so many new clients and I went in like way below market rate. I did that for a couple of reasons. One, it was advised to me by another business owner, and they said undervalue yourself in a way that allows you to get in the door to get business. And he's like, that actually is going to teach you a lot, and that's going to help you learn what your worth is, help you figure out your process, because at the end of the day, you are worth what people are willing to pay. And so obviously you want to be worth $1 million. You want to be worth a lot of money. But when you first start out at something, you generally suck. You generally struggle. Your process isn't down yet. There's a lot of kinks. And with that, you can really upset clients, especially if they're paying a lot of money. So when you are at a lower dollar per hour kind of role, it's almost expected that happens, and it's a little bit more forgiving for you and for the client. And so I actually thought that was a really great way for me to kind of just get my feet wet and get in the door to a multitude of businesses. So my first few clients were really on that healthcare side. And I will tell you now, healthcare recruiting is what I did previously. Healthcare marketing, not interested. I did that at the agency, and it was, to me personally, very boring. And I just really didn't love it. It's just not for us. That's all I have to say. It's not for us. And so we did that for the first full year, and we worked with a variety of different clients. A lot of them were really small business owners, like consultants. They were very specific niche individual people. And so our whole business model, and I say my whole business model was, all right, I'm going to get the clients in the door. I'm going to help build out an editorial content calendar. I'm going to make the content, do a photo shoot with them, do some video work, build out their templates, post for them, and then engage. And that's great. And I've talked to other agency owners who do everything still, and they've been in business for years. And it is really hard to do that while also building the business through sales, acquisition, through going to networking events, doing your accounting, invoicing. I found that I am so operationally oriented. I'm really good at doing all of that stuff, but I really want to be able to build myself into a role of a CEO. I want to be able to run the company. I want to build it. I want to be high level strategy. And while I can do everything in every role, and I have, you don't need to, and you shouldn't, especially if you're trying to scale. I just actually was at a networking event recently, and I was talking to one of my buddies who started a company, and he was like, I actually don't want to do that. I don't want to run the company. He's like, I love doing the work. I just want to do the work. And I was like, that's great that you know that. You should hire a COO at some point who's going to run the business if you are trying to sustain it, or just keep it really small. There's no right or wrong answer for starting a company or a business, how you want to be. I've talked to so many small business owners who want to stay small. And there are times where I've wanted to, and I want to just serve like 2 or 3 clients. And I have such a passion for growth, and I have such a passion for going, stretching myself and building out on that. So I think for me, I don't know if it's the ADD in me or if it's just who I am. I get stagnant and bored really easily if I'm just doing the same old all the time. And so I like to push myself. I like to take risk, which is why I do real estate investing. I like to do things that put me in a position that are a little outside my comfort zone, because it stretches me internally, and it also allows me to realize like, oh shit, I can do this. I'm actually really capable of doing this. And so I did that a lot in my first year. I learned who I like to work with. I learned who was really difficult to work with. I had many clients that were wanting to pay nothing for the work. And at the time I was like, I'll just say yes. And then I realized you're a really expensive client. And what that means is they would take a lot of time to do any of the work and then did not want to pay a lot for it. And so I started to realize that my initial business model was flawed in that, because you can't sustain. And it's just at some point you're trying to balance a clientele of like 20 clients, and you're making not enough money. You're paying all your bills, and maybe you're saving some, but you're not really getting to that next level of actually having retained earnings, making enough where you can start really building a team. One of the first things I did when I started my business though, is I actually hired a VA within my second month, I think. And so many people I talk to think I'm absolutely crazy. They're like, I can't let go. I can't hire someone. This is my biggest struggle. And for me, I was like, I need someone to just bounce ideas off of. I need someone that I can rely on, that I can just kind of start figuring out how I want to build this business, because I had been mentored by a lot of business leaders. I'm very fortunate for that. And I always was like, how did they do that? How did they structure their company? And so you don't know what you don't know once you start going into this. So I hired my first VA, and she was great for what I needed at the time. We outgrew each other within probably like 5-6 months. And I realized that it wasn't a fit for me, and it wasn't a fit for her anymore. And she also was starting her own, like, basically not an agency, but she was starting her own content business, and it was too conflicting, and I needed someone who was all in on us. I'm happy to hire contractors who have other side hustles, do other stuff, but having almost like a competing agency, I don't think there's any competition. I always feel like there's enough room for everyone, but she wasn't prioritizing our business, and that just was not working for me and where I saw us going. And so I realized pretty soon I didn't need just a VA. I really need like an operations assistant. And I put out on Facebook that I needed this, and I wasn't really sure who I was going to find. And so funny, I had this girl reach out to me, and she was the ex-girlfriend of one of my ex-boyfriend's buddies. And I had like probably a couple interactions with her. She was always really cool, really nice, but I really didn't know her. And my number one rule in business is I do not hire friends. I do not hire family. I will not do that to them or to me, because if something happens, disciplining family or friends gets really icky really quickly. And it's way more challenging to have a difficult conversation with someone that you love than it is with someone that, not that you don't love them or you don't grow to love them, but someone that you can have a more objective conversation with. And so that's my number one rule, and I will never break it. Blake has a role in my company of helping me with some strategy, and he helps kind of brainstorm, but he's my life partner. It's a little bit different than like bringing on your bestie to help out. It's hard. So I don't do that. So don't ask me. I love you, but I will not hire you. So I wasn't sure because I knew her, and I was like, we aren't best friends. We're not even good friends. We're just acquaintances that met like 5 years ago. And she told me her background, and she's like, I'd already worked at a small agency before, and I had really struggled to find someone who had the same background or experience that I was looking for. It was always like content creators who just made reels and stuff on Instagram, but no one who had actually worked at an agency, like scheduling and doing administrative work and working with another boss and figuring things out. And so I was like, this might be a good fit to try. Caitlin was the best hire I've ever made. And I love her, and I hope she knows that, because she changed my world, and we would not be the company we are today without her, because within that time I hired her. We're coming up on a year. Her year anniversary is in December. And literally from December to now, we've literally doubled our revenue. And a big part of that is I was able to offload and to have someone that I could trust that could really just step up and help. But also she gave ideas. She helped with content. She's really multifaceted. And so it just really worked for me. And for her, she is a stay-at-home mom with a little baby boy who's a year plus old. And then she has 3 other stepchildren. And so she's like, I'm a mom of 4. I need to work from home. I can only do 20 hours a week. It's hard to find a really flexible schedule and also pay for childcare. Childcare is so expensive. And I was like, this is perfect for me. I'm like, 20 hours a week is great. You can work remote. I will work with your schedule. I'm pretty flexible. That's perfect. And it has worked out so well for us. So that was like the best decision I ever made. And I always tell any entrepreneur or business owner, don't be afraid to let go, and don't be afraid to find someone that you can trust that can help offload the work that you're doing. Because at the end of the day, you want to find someone that you can pay, whatever X amount of hours to help take care of some administrative stuff that for them, it's great because they're making money and they're doing a job and feeling like a sense of purpose. For you, you're taking stuff off your plate that you really don't need to do, that anyone can do. And so that way you can focus on the stuff that only you can do. And that might be high level strategy. That might be sales. That might be the marketing. That could be partnerships and alliances and what you're trying to do as you scale. So that was a huge decision for me. And then basically I spent so it's funny because from basically April to August, September, I was really stagnant. Like we were not growing. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. There was definitely issues with the previous VA that I felt like I wasn't getting what I needed. And I was just stretching myself so thin. I was working almost 100 hours a week trying to build this business. And I don't have kids yet. Now we're pregnant, obviously. But back then I was like, I could do that. It's just Blake and I, and we both work a lot. It works out fine. I just had a lot of faith that things were going to work out. And I was like, if I just put my head down and I just network the shit out of anything I possibly can, I know it's going to be fine. And at this time, I was in a couple Facebook groups, and there was this nonprofit that was looking for support. And I had already learned my lesson that charging so little just never felt good for me because it costs so much to do what we do. Like from an emotional standpoint, strategy, content, it's a lot of money per month. And we know that now. And back then I just was like, it was finally the time where I was like, I can't take on those types of clients. But I had this call with this girl that, she was a founder of a nonprofit. They're a homeless shelter and transitional housing out of Richmond, Virginia. And they really needed support. And there was something inside me was like, I could charge her really little and not feel good about it, or I could sponsor them and do all the social media for them and logos and any marketing needs that they have for free. And so they can keep the money and give it to someone who really needs it. Like $350, $500, even $1,000 a month, like that would have been great for me to have, but I'd rather, especially a nonprofit like that, like that's a lot of money that can go towards additional food, potential transitional housing, materials, and helping people who are truly, truly in need. So I was like, I feel good about this. And so we have a really great relationship. We've been with them since. We've been with them over 1.5 years now. We still do all of their social and marketing. And we do it all for free. It's a write-off for us, so that's great. And for them, it's a, donated work that they don't have to pay actual dollars into, and they can really keep the money that they have towards something more important at the end of the day. So I was like, we're stagnant, but I'm still gonna give away some free services because I just have this feeling it's all gonna break. It's all gonna open up. I just can feel it. And so it was that fall, I started connecting more. I went to more networking events. I was literally going to like 3 a week. I was like a crazy person, and I was networking as much as I possibly could. And then I decided, I'm like this small little agency, and I joined the Chamber of Commerce in my local town, and they had this business expo, and I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna get a booth. Because a booth there wasn't expensive. Most booths at like conferences are thousands of dollars, but it's like $350. It's kind of a smaller local chamber. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna spend the money. I'm just gonna make it work. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna really put myself out there. That was the best $350 I've ever spent in my life. That ROI 10x, 20x. Maybe 30x. So I ended up being across the booth from one of my really good friends now, Ryan, who works for SUNY Adirondack in their adult education, continued education. And that's actually, if you've seen, for me, I coach for them. I have a couple courses that I teach through SUNY Adirondack virtually. And that was from that relationship. I was across from him the whole day. And so we built some really great rapport. It was connecting with so many people. And it was funny because my booth looked like shit. My booth was like not set up. I had like a little tapestry, and then I had this like janky little thing, and my booth looked terrible. And I was like, it's okay. I'm going to dress like $1 million, and I'm going to smile at every person, and I'm going to bring everyone in, and I'm going to do a free giveaway. And so I did that, and I ended up getting like 30 plus business cards. I had so many conversations. I ended up, after this happened, I got the SUNY Adirondack course partnership. I ended up signing a hotel. I signed 2 other small businesses. I ended up finding a vendor that I use regularly for a lot of our marketing collateral, that's like designing pens and stuff for our brand and our company. I ended up making a couple friends that I now just like have my business friends for life. And so for me, I was like, this is something that works for me, networking. Because I was trying to figure out like, how am I going to build this company? How am I going to scale it? What am I going to do? I don't want to be just cold calling people. Cold calling doesn't work. It doesn't work in this industry or social media. Everyone wants to feel connected, and no one feels connected anymore. And so I was like, I feel like my best way to do that is to be myself and to put myself out there and to literally just go and have as many conversations as possible. And so I decided that was kind of my bread and butter. That's really been the catalyst to Happy Brand scaling, is networking, connecting, having, relationships, and just going to these events and connecting with people and following up and building rapport and doing stuff for someone, and maybe not getting anything in return, but you built something that's bigger that eventually will give you an ROI. And you don't have to have an agenda with like every person you meet, there's going to be something you get out of it. Sometimes it's just a friendship. Sometimes it's just someone to talk to about business. And sometimes it's like, oh shit, like I remember this person I talked to like 6 months ago and she'd be great for this. I'll recommend that. And so, so we were in December, and I had done all these networking things in the fall, and I started having I got some follow-ups, and that was the December. I got the call from the hotel being like, we want to have a conversation about moving forward with a partnership, a contract. And I was so excited because this was like the biggest like client I've ever had. I had a woman that I had pitched in September finally come through in December. And then I got like 2 more clients, and they were all big clients. And so I was like, oh my God, I literally just doubled our revenue in 1 month. And then that's when I was like, all right, Caitlin, I can bring you on. Let's just go all in. And so I really felt like my first year from April to December 2023 was just a lot of learning. It was a lot of mistakes. It was figuring out what worked, what didn't. We tried so many tools. I can't even tell you. Like whenever you start a business, you're trying to figure out your infrastructure, what tools to use, what not to use, what you don't like. And I tried everything. And a lot of them sucked and I wasted money, but I learned. And that's the cool thing is subscriptions. Like, you can do a monthly one and try it. And so I knew the platform I wanted to use for all of our management was expensive. But I told myself, I was like, if I can get to this revenue by December, January, I'm going to invest in that. And I'm going to sign a year contract and I'm going to do it. And I did. We got our revenue double what it had been. And that was great for me just financially because I'm like, wow, like I can actually pay my bills, but also save. Because before I was paying all my bills, but it was like just inching by. And so I'm like, I now can save some money. I have some money to invest in the business and put more back maybe to my team to help more so we can kind of just start building this up. And then literally January, I ended up getting like 5 or 6 new clients and we were off to the races. We had like 15 plus 20 clients at that time. It was messy, it was busy, but it was really good. And it was like, holy shit, we're actually making some money here. And so it was great because financially, I think most of you know I'm very motivated financially and I love talking about finances in a transparent way about my own financial journey. But I think there's something so beautiful about building a company and a business, especially as a woman and by yourself. I've had so many people think like, oh, like, is there a man that runs everything? I'm like, I am the man. I run everything. And I think there's this misconception that like women don't have maybe the same authority or the same business sense or the same drive as like a man would. And I just don't think that's true. I don't think it really matters on gender. I really feel like it's just who you are and it's what's built into you that really creates that dynamic. And so for me, I was like, I'm a hard worker. I grew up on a farm in Maine. I grew up with a single mom and I know what work ethic is. That's not the hard part. That's easy for me. You want me to work 100 hours a week? Fuck it, I will do it. I have no problem working that. The biggest thing is really figuring out what's going to work for me and my lifestyle as I evolve as a person and what that's going to look like. And then what are my goals? And so in 2024, we really started, this last year is when we really kicked into high gear. And so we literally, as of now and where we will end this year, is double revenue than we did in 2023, which is great. And 2023 is double than what we, almost like 4 or 5 times what we did in 2022 because it was just a small amount. So that feels really, really good. And it's exciting because my goals for 2025 is to double revenue again. I'm like, if we can do it once, we can do it twice, we can do it 3 times. And that's where we're headed, which is really exciting. And so I am looking at where our company has grown and we've added some amazing people on. The beginning of the year from January to June was a rough ride because we were scaling fast and it was getting really messy because I was saying yes to everything and then we could not actually keep up with the work where we're like, shit, we need to hire more people. Maybe I won't even say maybe, I 100% moved too fast on certain hires that just were not a fit for us at the end of the day and ended up being more just internal challenges that I had to work through. And so I got really, really good advice from my mentor, my business mentor. And he's like, hire slow, fire fast. He's like, if you have someone that's draining the culture of your company, you've got to let them go fast because that will kill your company. He's like, but don't rush into hiring someone right away. And so in general, just like you want to take your time, like date them, don't just marry them immediately, make sure that they're going to be a fit for you and the culture. And so we went through some hiring challenges from those 6 months. And then really this summer is when we just started to figure it out. And I found out I was pregnant. And so things really changed. And I was like, I really have to get a handle on this business because I don't want this to go away. I want this to be here for years to come. I want this to be a sustained thing. And the only way to do that is to actually focus in on building the company, building a team, and really setting up something that's sustainable. So I hired I have 2 creators on our team. One of them we had beginning of the year that was kind of just like sporadic stuff. She was great. It was just more sporadic. And then I really was like, I need you more than where we've been at. So let's really just look at that right now and what you can provide for hours, and let's stick with that and have you add on more hours for us. And she's been incredible. Taryn, shout out to you. You're amazing. And then we made a hire at the end of the summer, Maddie, who is also one of our content gals, who is also incredible. And so between the 2 of them, Caitlin helps out with creative, and then I do as well. So we kind of all wear the hat of creative, but that's all exclusively they do is creative. And then Caitlin and I really run the company and the operations, and she's my right hand. So we figure that out. And then I also have a fractional CFO who handles all invoicing for our clients, and then does all payroll for our contractors. Because sometimes we'll subcontract out, like if there's a photo shoot or something that needs to get done that's I can't go to. I used to travel all the time, but being pregnant now, I can't. It's too much for me. We have them set up in QuickBooks where we can just pay them as a contractor. And so she handles all of that. She also does our P&L and just helps us really see where we're at from year to year, tracking, looking at expenses, and really reconciling every month and doing the accounting. So it's worked out really, really well for us. So we are in November now, and it's the end of the year, and I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished this year and how much I've learned and what our plan is to be for the next coming year. And it's freaking exciting. And you know, I'm just reflecting on this last year of like, I've learned so much about like where we were in January. It's not even remotely where we are now from a really good standpoint, because we've learned so much about what's good business, what are good partners for us, what does that look like, and really who can we rely on, and what can we give back to give that same type of relationship. So as I look to 2025, I'm like, okay, we want to scale and we want to double what we did in revenue. What does that mean? What is that going to look like? So, you know, we're really trying to plan ahead of like, who are the types of clients that we want to bring on? And we've really actually evolved our clientele to that small to mid enterprise level clients. So banks, we're working with some large nonprofits. We're also working with some small businesses. Small business, I hate saying that because it's like 0 revenue to 50 million, but we're really in that like 1 to like 25 million range for revenue for a company that we work with. That's really ideal for us because we're able to work with a larger budget, but we're also able to provide a lot more of our services that are really kind of that like editorial planning and partnership. One thing that we also launched this year was influencer marketing. I worked a lot in the influencer marketing space in CPG and just a variety of sectors. This year we experimented a lot. I've worked with influencers in a previous life, and then we brought on Sasi Sarasi. I'm her agent, so she's our exclusive. You know, she can do whatever she wants, but she's our, like for in-house, she's the only one that we manage at this time. And for us, it works out great because she is amazing. We love her, and she's an easy sell because she has a great brand. She's very localized, but she's also someone who's expanding her own branding, and she's growing and evolving with us as well. So we're excited because a big part of our budgeting and planning for next year is to include that with her of how can we grow her business and with us. And so we're going to definitely need to hire at least probably 1 or 2 more social media managers. And I definitely am going to need to add on like an admin assistant because Caitlin is an operations manager, and that's going to be enough to manage everything. But I'm going to definitely need like a personal assistant to help out as we scale this, because I'm doing a lot of the sales, the acquisitions, the big pitch meetings, you know, doing the proposals and really like the high level, and then doing the initial strategy calls with these clients to onboard. And then Caitlin's handling all onboarding for clients, all onboarding for our contractors. And then the girls are really coming in at the same time to help us implement this strategy and help build this out. So we have a really good, I think, plan. It's just now a matter of how the hell we get there and like what that looks like. And then, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a baby in the middle of this. I just refuse to think that I can't do it all. I just know I can, and it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be a challenge, but we're really trying to set ourselves up where all clients and contracts are good from like January to June. Everyone's kind of set. We have a really good plan, and our team is set up with their goals and what they know they have to do. So that way I can take some time off to have the baby and then come back being able to really take this to the next level. And, you know, by June, July timeframe, you know, to December next year, just really focus in on doubling our revenue. So that's kind of where we are at Happy Brands. It's been crazy, a lot of growth, a ton of growth really fast. People think I'm kind of crazy for how fast we've grown, but I wouldn't want it any other way. And I did this by design. So I'm just excited to see what happens next, and my evolution in this as a CEO and a COO, and just figuring this out as a founder and owner, and next step. So thank you so much for listening in and hearing my story of Happy Brands and how we've evolved. And if you ever have questions, let me know. But Happy Brands Co. is a social media marketing agency. We white label websites. We work with a really great local partner for our websites, but we white label with them. We do social media, content creation, editorial planning, strategy, implementation. And then we also do, the short videography, photography as well within that to make the content. And we do some SEO. We do very simple like Squarespace websites, but like I said, we have a website partner that's way more, I know, my dog's talking to me right now. I'll be right there. And building everything out. And then we do influencer marketing and partnerships with clients. So we do a lot of different stuff within that space, but really in the social media space. So if you're interested in our services, interested in learning more, or you want to chat, feel free to reach out to me. But thank you for tuning in to today's episode, and we'll see you soon.